We finally have another Vanguard coming to the game with the addition of Angela in Season 4, and she's unlike any other tank we currently have in the game. So here's 10 tips on how you should play Angela, be an effective dive or flank tank, and end up unlocking this sick Lord icon for her. I'd recommend watching until at least my favorite tip, which is number 8. And finally, if you're watching on YouTube, consider liking and subscribing. It really does help the channel grow. Before we get into the first tip, an honorable mention is just an explanation for how her empowered spear works, which you definitely need to understand. The basic function is that as you move while flying or block with your shield, it charges her spear that deals more damage and launches up enemies. If she's on the ground using her axes, they deal more damage with more attack charge. The first tip is to bind melee to your mouse button if you're playing on PC, because you can kind of reverse attack cancel on her spear. You just melee first and then quickly follow it up with a basic attack. This functions best especially when she has a fully charged spear, because you get that little bit of extra damage with the burst of the empowered spear. Since her spear attacks are very slow, honestly, I recommend usually just attacking with the axes on the ground if you're going for damage, but this is a great way to make your flying attacks a little more powerful. Speaking of your basic attacks, tip number 2 is that your spear does pierce and hits up to 6-ish meters. This means if multiple enemies are within your range of your basic attack, you'll hit all of them with your spear attack while in the air. Tip number 3 is that your E, also known as Divine Judgment, does damage over time to everyone in its area. This ability is great for those up close in personal brawls that have a lot of enemies and allies in the same area, because it can damage all of them while also giving you and your team enhanced speed and bonus health. Now for number 4, speaking of your dive, you do more damage on your E with direct hits. Originally, I thought maybe the higher you are, the more damage it would deal, but that is not the case. The only thing that matters is if you directly hit the enemy on impact or not. Number 5 is just a general tip on how you should engage. In my opinion, the best engage combo is going to be using your shift, aka Assassin's Charge, into your dive. Make sure your spear is empowered if you can, that way you deal that additional damage and knock them up, and then go straight into your axe form, where you'll have bonus speed and health, and you deal way more damage with that form. Every 4th attack, her axes do a kind of Wolverine-esque jump attack, so use that to stick close to enemies and stop them from getting away, or use it to make your escape before switching back into flying mode. For tip number 6, your Assassin's Charge or your shift is actually immune to knockbacks and launch ups, meaning if you expect an enemy CC ability like the Thing's ult or an Immor ult, you can wait to use that shift until the right moment to negate the CC effects, which is super useful. At number 7, this might seem like common sense, but you are extremely fast. Angela is the fastest hero in the game when she's flying, so use that to position and catch enemies out of position. While you're in the air, you suck if you're not moving. She's not like Iron Man or Torch, where sitting still and attacking is useful. She should be moving as often as possible. If a healer is lagging behind on the enemy team, or you could remove a tank from getting into a fight, Angela has that ability to cut off the routes quickly and do that. Speaking of, at number 8, probably my favorite tip is to knock people off the map. Use flank routes constantly. If you thought Penny or Invisible Woman setups were troll, just wait until an Angela constantly throws you off the map. Yes, I was just doing this against hard bots because it was early access, but this is absolutely viable, where you can get huge utility out of simply tossing people off the map, especially because your empowered spear can knock them back even further or stop people from using their movement abilities to get back on the map. At number 9, her ultimate has no range. You can throw it as far as you can see, so use that to your team's advantage. Now, you can't leap to it from any range, so keep that in mind. You do have to be fairly close to use that feature, but I recommend using your Ult Range to do things like stop enemies from contesting point, or pinpointing an enemy or two that you want to keep out of an upcoming engagement and pinning them down there. Then your team can go engage on the rest of them. Again, it seems like she is very much a punishing kind of tank that can go after healers, keep them out of fights, and really use that to the team's advantage. Finally, at tip number 10 is also for your ultimate. you can spam your ult when on foot or hold it for a while for a re-engage later. When you use Heaven's Retribution as an engage, I found it pretty effective to be on foot with your axes and spam it after throwing it for a very quick engage and burst of damage. It's still not going to be a lot of damage compared to others, but it definitely seemed more effective that way. However, you could also let it sit for a while and then reactivate it to jump to the other side of a fight and use it to position to your advantage or engage on someone who maybe just forgot it was there. Anyways, guys, those are my 10 tips for playing Angela. Hopefully these are useful. I think she is the most fun I have had playing as a tank in Marvel Rivals, so I can't wait for everyone else to play her and see her just terrorizing some low elo. Of course, Daredevil is our next hero coming on October 10th, but if you haven't heard, Gambit and Rogue are all but confirmed to be the Season 5 heroes, which is super sick. But that is all for this time, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.